Good day, everyone. This is Dr. Soper here, and today I'll be providing you with a brief introduction to Microsoft Excel. This video is the first in a series of videos which together are designed to familiarize you with Microsoft Excel and to help you become both a competent and confident user of this powerful, flexible, and highly useful software program. To begin, note that this particular video is intended for people who have either very little or no prior experience with Microsoft Excel. Even if you have used Excel before, however, I nevertheless hope that you will learn something new and useful by watching this video. With that having been said, let's take a look at the 6 topics that we will address as we progress through our introduction to Microsoft Excel. We will begin our exploration of Microsoft Excel with a general overview of spreadsheet software programs, after which we will become familiar with the Excel user interface. Next, we will learn how to navigate within a spreadsheet and how to add and edit data within a spreadsheet. Finally, we will learn about the many different ways in which we can select data within a spreadsheet, and, importantly, we will conclude by learning how to save our work. Let's get started. A spreadsheet is a computer program that allows data to be organized, analyzed, edited, and stored in the form of a two-dimensional table. The tables themselves are composed of cells, which are arranged into rows and columns. In order to facilitate our discussion, I have created this Excel spreadsheet, which contains historical long-term temperature information for Los Angeles, California. Note that the data are provided in degrees Celsius. As you can see, each row in Microsoft Excel is identified by a unique number, while each column is identified by one or more capital letters. In this way, it is possible to uniquely identify each cell within a spreadsheet by referring to its column letter and row number. For example, the cell in the upper left-hand corner of the spreadsheet is referred to as cell A1, while other cells in the spreadsheet include cell C3, cell F9, and so forth. Each cell in the spreadsheet might contain a number or a text value. For example, cell A7 in this spreadsheet contains the text value June, while cell D3 in the spreadsheet contains the number 15. Cells can also contain a formula which automatically calculates a value based upon input values from other cells. For example, we might enter a formula in cell B15 which automatically calculates the overall average high temperature for Los Angeles. As we can see, our formula automatically tells us that the overall average high temperature for Los Angeles has been 24 degrees Celsius. Modern spreadsheets contain formulas for performing many different types of mathematical, statistical, and financial calculations, and it is these formulas that help to make spreadsheets such powerful and flexible tools. We will be discussing formulas in much more detail in the subsequent videos in this series. Generally speaking, users are allowed to change the value of any cell at any time. There are many different ways in which the value of a cell can be changed, which we will discuss and demonstrate shortly. Before proceeding, however, I wanted to provide a bit of historical perspective on spreadsheet programs. Surprisingly, spreadsheets played a pivotal role in the PC revolution during the early 1980s. While people commonly assume that it was word processing programs which contributed most significantly to the rapid adoption of personal computers in business, many technology historians have concluded that it was actually the power and utility of spreadsheet programs which convinced organizations to put personal computers on the desks of their white-collar workers. Next, let's learn a bit about Excel's user interface. Speaking broadly, there are 5 major components of the Excel user interface. The first major component is the spreadsheet, which, as we saw earlier, is composed of cells that are arranged into rows and columns. The spreadsheet is the primary area where work is done within the software program, and it is for this reason that it takes up most of the space on the screen. The next major component of the Excel user interface is the collection of ribbons. As we can see, Excel provides us with a number of ribbons, including the Home ribbon, the Insert ribbon, the Page Layout ribbon, and so forth. Each ribbon provides us with a set of tools that we can use while working with our spreadsheets. For example, the Home ribbon provides us with tools that allow us to change the appearance of our data. Using these tools, we can change the font for one or more cells, make the values in the cells bold or italic, or do many other things which affect the way that the spreadsheet looks. The third major component of the Excel user interface is the collection of sheet tabs. Generally speaking, each Excel file is called a workbook, and each workbook can contain one or more spreadsheets. In this example, our Excel file contains 3 different spreadsheets, named Sheet 1, Sheet 2, and Sheet 3. We can easily switch from one spreadsheet to another simply by clicking on the various sheet tabs. The fourth major component of the Excel user interface is the status bar, which provides us with information about the current status of the program. The status bar here, for example, tells us that the program is ready and waiting for us to do something. The status bar also allows us to switch between different views of our spreadsheet and to set the level of zoom for the spreadsheet. Additionally, the status bar can quickly provide us with useful information about the cells that are currently selected on the spreadsheet. If, for example, we were to select all of the values in column C, the status bar would tell us the average, number, and sum of the values that were selected. Finally, the fifth major component of the Excel user interface is the Backstage view. To access the Backstage view, we simply need to click on the File tab, which is located in the upper left corner of the screen. Conceptually, the Backstage view allows us to manage our Excel files. Here we can create new workbooks, open or save existing workbooks, print our spreadsheets, and perform many other tasks such as inspecting our files for hidden metadata or personal information. The Backstage view also provides us with access to the Excel Options window, in which we can configure many options related to the Excel program itself. Next, we'll learn about how to navigate within an Excel spreadsheet. The good news is that there are many different ways in which we can navigate between and among the cells within an Excel spreadsheet. This makes working with data in the spreadsheet much easier since we can navigate from cell to cell in a variety of different ways. Some of the ways in which we can navigate within a spreadsheet include clicking on a cell with the mouse, using the arrow keys on the keyboard, using the Control key and the arrow keys together, using the page up and page down keys, using the Alt key with the page up and page down keys, and using the Control and Home keys together. Let's see examples of each of these techniques. Perhaps the easiest way to move to a specific cell on the spreadsheet is simply to click on it with your mouse. For example, if we want to move to cell B4 or cell D2, we can do so simply by clicking on them. Using the arrow keys is another quick and easy way to move from cell to cell on the spreadsheet. If, for example, we want to move from cell D10 to cell F8, we could simply press the up arrow twice and then press the right arrow twice. If we want to quickly jump around within a set of values in the spreadsheet, one useful approach is to hold down the Control key on the keyboard and then press one of the arrow keys. For example, if we wanted to immediately move from cell F8 to cell F13, we could simply hold down the Control key and then press the down arrow. If we then wanted to immediately move from cell F13 to cell A13, we would simply hold down the Control key and then press the left arrow. If we want to quickly scroll the visible area of the spreadsheet up or down, we can do so simply by pressing the page up or page down keys. On our current spreadsheet, for example, only 16 rows are entirely visible. Note that row number 17 is partially hidden. By pressing the page down key, the entire spreadsheet scrolls downward such that row number 17 is now the topmost visible row. Pressing the page up key, of course, will cause the entire spreadsheet to scroll upward, thus returning us to our original position. If we want to quickly scroll the visible area of the spreadsheet to the left or to the right, we can do so simply by holding down the Alt key and then pressing either the page up or page down keys. For example, column G is the last column which is currently fully visible on our screen. By holding down the Alt key and then pressing the page down key, the visible area of the screen immediately scrolls to the right, such that the first visible column is now column H. Holding down the Alt key and pressing the page up key will, of course, cause the spreadsheet to immediately scroll to the left, thus returning us to our original position. Finally, a very useful trick to know is to hold down the Control key on the keyboard and then press the Home key. Regardless of where you are on the spreadsheet, holding down the Control key and then pressing the Home key will instantly return you to cell A1. This can be very useful if you are working with a spreadsheet that contains many rows or columns. Next, we'll learn about the different ways in which we can add or edit data in an Excel spreadsheet. Excel provides us with many different ways of adding or editing data within a spreadsheet. Perhaps the simplest way to add data is by typing directly in a cell. If, for example, we wanted to enter the number 10 in cell C14, we could do so simply by selecting cell C14 and then typing the number 10 on the keyboard. Another way of accomplishing the same feat is to select our target cell and then type our desired value in the formula bar. For example, if we wanted to change the text in cell C1 from average low to average low temperature, we could do so simply by clicking on cell C1 and then editing its value in the formula bar. Note that the value displayed in the formula bar for a specific cell can vary from the value displayed in that cell on the spreadsheet itself. In this example, the value shown in the formula bar for cell C1 is too long to be fully displayed in cell C1 on the spreadsheet itself. Another useful way of entering data is to copy a value from one cell and paste it into another cell. For example, if we wanted to enter the value 38 in cell E15, we could do so simply by selecting cell E12 and then pressing Ctrl-C to copy the value to the clipboard. We could then move to cell E15 and press Ctrl V to paste the value on the clipboard into that cell. Excel also provides us with many different ways of finishing or finalizing the values that we enter into cells on the spreadsheet. Some of these ways include pressing the Enter key, pressing the Tab key, pressing one of the arrow keys, clicking on another cell in the spreadsheet, or clicking on the check mark that appears next to the formula bar. If, for example, we've finished editing the value in a cell and we press the Enter key, you will notice that Excel shifts the focus to the cell immediately below the cell we were editing. If, however, we press the Tab key after we finish editing the value in a cell, Excel shifts the focus to the cell immediately to the right of the cell we were editing. Remember, you can also finalize your entry simply by pressing one of the arrow keys, by clicking on another cell, or by clicking the check mark next to the formula bar. In addition to adding new data, Excel also provides us with many different ways of correcting existing data entries. If, for example, we would like to cancel an entry that we are currently making, all we need to do is press the Escape key. If, however, we would like to entirely erase the value that is currently contained within a cell, all we need to do is select that cell and then press the Delete key. If we would like to edit a cell's existing value, we can do so simply by double-clicking on the cell and then making whatever changes are necessary. It is also possible to edit a cell's existing value by selecting the cell and then making whatever changes are necessary by using the formula bar. Next, let's learn some useful ways of selecting different types of data on a spreadsheet. To begin, note that Excel provides us with the ability to select one or more of the cells on a spreadsheet. Selecting cells can be useful for editing, copying, moving, or deleting data, or for selecting the input values for a formula. Thanks to our earlier discussion and demonstrations, we've already learned how to select single cells in a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet by either clicking on the cell with the mouse or by using the arrow keys. It is also possible to select multiple cells simultaneously on a spreadsheet either by clicking and dragging with the mouse, clicking on row or column headers, using the Shift key and the arrow keys together, or by using the Control, Shift, and arrow keys together. Perhaps the easiest way to select a range of cells is by clicking and dragging with the mouse. If, for example, we wanted to select all of the values on our spreadsheet from cell E2 through cell E13, we could simply click on cell E2 and, while holding down the left mouse button, drag the mouse cursor down the column to cell E13. We can also select entire rows or columns by clicking on the row or column headers. For example, if we wanted to select all of the cells in column C, or all of the cells in row 5, we could do so simply by clicking on the header for column C or the header for row 5. Another way of selecting a range of cells is to use the Shift key and the arrow keys together. For example, if we wanted to select all of the cells ranging from B6 through F7, we could do so simply by clicking on cell B6, holding down the Shift key, and then pressing the right arrow 4 times and the down arrow once. Finally, we can use the Control, Shift, and arrow keys together in order to select contiguous ranges of cells. For example, if we wanted to select the range of cells on our spreadsheet from C7 through F13, we could do so simply by clicking on cell C7, holding down the Control and Shift keys, and then pressing the down arrow once and the right arrow once. This technique can be very useful if you are working with a spreadsheet that contains hundreds or even thousands of rows. Now that we've become familiar with Excel spreadsheets and have learned how to add and edit data, it would be a good idea if we also learned how to save our work. Saving your work in Excel is very easy. Remember that an Excel file is saved as a workbook, which can contain more than one spreadsheet. In order to save your work, you will simply need to click on the File tab in order to go into the Backstage view. Select Save As, and then choose a destination and a name for your Excel file. By way of example, if we wanted to save our current workbook, we could do so by clicking the File tab, clicking on Save As, and then choosing a destination and name for our file. In this example, I will name our workbook Weather. Note that depending upon your situation, you may need to select a different file type on the Save As dialog box. For example, if you wanted to save your file so that it would be compatible with older versions of Microsoft Excel, you could change the file type to Excel 97 through 2003 workbook. Finally, if you are working with an existing Excel file, you can save your changes either by going into the Backstage view and selecting Save, or by pressing Ctrl S on your keyboard. Well, my friends, thus ends our brief introduction to Microsoft Excel. I hope that you learned something interesting in this video, and until next time, have a great day.